start of the coronavirus, we knew that we had to do something different. And what we chose to do was to get out into the field, to speak to our brokers, to speak to insurance clients, and also to speak to other expert thinking partners across industries, different thoughts, and in different systems. And this is where we find ourselves today, is in a place of great disruption. And the best way to navigate disruption is not to do it alone. And really what we're excited to not only bring to our community of brokers, but to bring to the financial services industry, the body of individuals and industry professionals who require continuous professional development hours, is a journey. A journey that we recognize is quite complex and complicated. It's got systemic impact, meaning it doesn't only impact one area of a broker's business or one aspect of insurance or one aspect of risk. We recognize that it's quite complicated to navigate everything that we're seeing in South Africa and in our economy, which is why we've partnered with individuals like Dr. Adrian Saville and Charmaine Koch from AC Develop. So we've embarked on a very particular journey, a skills development journey that is participatory. So we're not just about facilitating learning and development. We're not just a bunch of teachers giving you content, inviting you to a webinar and telling you stuff. This is also about participating. We like to think of ourselves as hosts, as Nora Bateson would like to call it in terms of warm data and creating a warm data lab. That's really what we want to do for South Africa and for the industry, is to participate with brokers within our community to really make a difference. So we're embarking on a journey where we're going to host you. We're going to host the brokers. We're going to host insurance professionals who are going through a lot of disruption and a lot of change, whether it be mergers and acquisitions, whether it be exploring what does a retention strategy look like, or what does new business and acquisition look like. We want to give you some perspectives. We want to give you some ideas. So we're designing a program that we want to invite you to participate with us on. We'll take you on a journey. You'll create and co-initiate, whether it be with your organization or with your community, and we'll be your thinking partners. And we're inviting our MUA community. So that's going to be one particular cohort of individuals that our advisory team will support and walk alongside. And then there are those who are not a part of the MUA community, but want to be. Come along. Join us on this particular cohort, because not only do we want to onboard you to be a part of our community, but we want to see you succeed, because we realize that your success is our success. So your career goes a very particular direction. You end up with a piece of paper and a qualification, and you can sit behind a desk and you can do your job, but you haven't done that. You kind of are still very much going out into different industries, teaching, researching, presenting, facilitating. Why do that?
It's the blue ocean thing, right? The world is permanently frozen where you finished. And how can that possibly be the case? That you've got new products, you've got new markets, you've got new customers, you've got new research and finding, like the stuff that comes out of research in behavior and psychology. If we take our qualifications from the 1980s or 90s and you go and look for the component on investor psychology, investor behavior, it's missing. And today it's acknowledged arguably as one of the biggest components in investment decision-making and investment behavior. So I think you've got to try and stay like on top of it, right?
So you start sharing that information, you share that knowledge, and you help bring other people to a point of realization, because the whole point of having competitive markets is, what's the point of competing with somebody if you're competing with the lowest of the low? You want to compete with peers, and you want to challenge each other to push the market more. So even with that, and as Adrian says, life moves on, life carries on, things change, new innovations come along, new risks come along. And so you're constantly learning in an ever-changing environment. And what you're actually doing is you're using the skill that you learned from your qualification and that you learned way back, and you're actually applying that skill to new risks, to new environments, to new products, to the new changes that are coming through, and you are innovating further from there.
Hang around with peers and colleagues, and you actually want to hang out also with non-peers, non-colleagues who are going to challenge your thinking and question your process, and it's the diversity of crowd, right? The more like-minded you are, the less you're going to learn. So I think that's also what new companies, new countries, new markets, new communities does, is it challenges and stress tests if you can be open-minded about it.
Well, our most common saying is that if you are in your comfort zone, you're never going to learn. The only way to learn is to get out of that comfort zone. How do you do that? You approach mentors, you go and look and see who's driving the latest new challenge and how they're doing it, how they're learning, how they're innovating. And that's exactly what you want to do, bring back to your business and innovate in your own business.
If you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. So how do you, within that context, answer or respond rather to the comment of, I don't have time. I don't have time.
But I don't have time.
Okay?
No one's got time. I mean, so that's a case of prioritizing, right? And if you see this as a task or a chore, you've probably lost the golden opportunity. If you see it as something that, wow, this is going to bring new information, fresh learning, I'm going to be taken into leading edge thinking, then it's suddenly it's not a chore, it's an opportunity. And then it's, well, how do I make sure that I've got the time and I've set this aside? And also that you don't want to be doing it as a tick box exercise.
Exactly.
Tick box exercise, very poor allocation of time.
In fact, a tick box exercise takes you much longer than if you bring that whole principle and concept into your way of work. So that's why you always want to work from your ethical and your characteristics, because then it is ingrained in what you do. It's built into how you behave and how you operate in a business. And then you don't even need to worry about the tick box, because then you actually know that
it ticks itself.
Exactly. But at the same time, you want to actually say to yourself, well, you know, if I'm going to innovate, if I'm going to stay at the top of my market, I actually have to make that time. And if you have a look at the most recent research that's been coming out, or even just the comments that have been made about the top earners in the US, and we won't mention names, but there's quite a couple of biographies being done, and even just them chatting about the principles that they adopted in terms of how they got to where they did. And the common threads are there for all of them, in terms of having time to reflect, having time to say, what do I actually want to achieve? This is not happening for me in the way that I think it should be happening. How do I make it happen? And that's how they've gotten to where they are, whether it be through innovation, whether it be through just challenging the norm, challenging the status quo and finding another way. And with that, that's how they've gotten to where they are. But they've made that time to reflect, and they've made that time to carve new ways of doing things. And it's something that is necessary to do for business if you're going to grow.
So if you want to participate in our program, be sure to visit us on www.mua.co.za for more information.